Hey, how's it going, everyone? So today I want to do a review on Dan. We'll talk about the character's design so far, as well as his strength, how strong he is, if he's tournament viable, blah 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 blah. I've been playing Dan all the way from rookie, almost in Super Diamond now, and of course I've been watching a lot of pro players playing Dan as well, including of course Punk, Chris G, J1, etc., and kind of seeing the potential of this character. So right off the bat, I can already tell you that Dan is one of the most well-designed characters in Street Fighter V, period. They did such a good job keeping the soul of the character intact, where you're Dan, you're taunting players, you're showing off, but at the same time, he's really fun as well, you know. And this might be the strongest version of Dan in any Street Fighter. And the way they kind of balanced them, we'll talk about that in a bit. The way they kind of balanced them was very interesting, but at the same time keeping them very technical and having a really good kit, a lot of tools to use to win. So first, I want to talk about these V skills. So V skill 1 and V skill 2, one of the reasons why I think Dan is so well designed is that depending on which V skill you pick, completely changes how this character is played. V skill 1 is if you want a very mobile Dan. He's very much more taunt heavy, where he's jumping back and taunting. He's all over the place. He's really hard to catch. He's really tricky, and with that, you also can taunt cancel from all your specials, and you get a lot of momentum and a lot of corner carry and a lot of cool juggles with that. V skill 2, on the other hand, is like for the super technical player. You're also taunt canceling like crazy, and therefore you're building V gauge like nuts. And with that, you're basically freestyle Dan. You can do pretty much anything you want, from crouching heavy punch to light punch to heavy kick to heavy kick. It makes his mid-range game really tricky and really crazy. And if he drops it, man, you are in serious trouble. But it helps Dan overcome one of his biggest weaknesses, which is his damage and his stun. Honestly, I think Dan's V skill 2 is most likely the most difficult V skill or hardest thing to master in Street Fighter V. Besides something crazy like Menot's V trigger or something. It is so technical. The timing of all these buttons is different. It's different when the opponent gets hit out of the air with it. It's different when you crush counter with it. And you have to do it so many times. And you have to be able to hit confirm it at high level, like doing one heavy kick into taunt cancel. If it hits, then you go into EX punches, EX Dan punches. If they block, then you have to cancel into something safe, like a light punch or a light kick. And just doing that in general is very hard, because if you mess up even once, you do a taunt, it's extremely minus, the opponent will crush counter you, and your opponent's getting V gauge as well with Dan. So Dan has a lot of tools, like I said. He's got the Dan kicks. He doesn't really have good anti-fireball tools, anti-zoning tools, besides maybe V skill 1. But even V skill 1, I feel like a really hard matchup for Dan would be like Guile, where somebody recovers projectiles really quickly. But the one thing, they give Dan all these tools, right? All these juggles and corner carries and all these really cool combos, but what holds him back, like I said, is his stun and his damage. It's probably the lowest in the game, probably the absolute lowest in the game, especially his throws. His forward throw does 130 stun, his back throw does 150. Just to give you perspective, Ryu's back throw does 200 stun, forward throw does 150 stun. I know every throw is different depending on how close you are after your opponent, yada yada, but Dan's throw is really, really weak in terms of stun. And you'll notice a lot of times where you'll hit the opponent a million times, you'll not stun them, and then you'll run out of steam because you used all your resources. Then they'll activate V-Trigger and they'll make a huge comeback on you. And you'll start to realize that even though Dan is strong on paper, when you look at all of his tools and stuff, it's the damage and the stun that holds him back. I guess you can look at it as a lazy way, that's a lazy way to balance him. But I like it because it makes Dan what he's supposed to be, a technical, show-off character, right? That when you win, you can pop off. And when you lose, you got that OS because it's Dan, right? He's supposed to be weak, but he's not weak, right? We've seen pro players do really well with him. We've seen Punk win Ranbat with him. But we see Dan definitely has his struggle matches, for sure. Definitely. Guile, like I said, would definitely be one of them. Honda, Punk did beat Honda in the finals. But Honda, you have to hit this dude a million times. You'll kill him before you stun him. That's his stun is so low. But I really think that the player carries the character. I think Dan is only as good as you are. The character will not carry you at all. Dan barely has any gimmicks that he can throw at the opponent. Even if he hits somebody with a gimmick, let's say I don't know, EX Dan kicks in the counter here. You're barely doing any damage anyways, dude. I think with Dan, you really need to understand what you can V shift. You need to you need to get your hit confirms on point, and you need to play almost perfectly. You need to play very, very well. And like I guess that's why he's such a satisfying character, because he's really rewarding if you win with him. So, like I said, you could think Capcom was lazy and just making his damage and stun really low, but I think that's the only way to keep Dan in check from being a top tier character, in my opinion. Because if he did do normal damage that like the other characters can do, and he was able to stun you, he would be really strong. And then we would have that meme like, "Oh, Dan's gonna be better than Ryu. Dan's gonna be better than Akuma. He's gonna be the best Shoto." It doesn't seem to be the case, especially with those crazy Ryu buffs. It doesn't seem to be the case, but it was very possible. Now, I know a lot of you guys are thinking about the Dan Infinite. A lot of people that complain about the Dan Infinite are not familiar with actually how difficult it is to actually land in a real match. Yeah, I mean, I've landed it a few times in some random matches, but most of the time it's off a stun. And honestly, man, if you stun somebody with Dan, you deserve to win. They deserve to get infinite, bro. It's so difficult to do. You try it. Most of the time, I'll kill my opponent before I even stun them because the stun is so bad. But the infinite, I'm surprised that Capcom didn't patch it out yet. I'm curious on maybe. I mean, they definitely know about it, man. That's most of the videos that people posted when Dan came up. But I think they're gonna patch it out. I mean, they patched out most of the early guile loops in the beginning. You see, the thing is Dan right now, he has an infinite quotation marks, but like it's more of a loop. It's more of a short loop, because to do the real infinite requires micro walking, and nobody has done that in a real match yet. So it's way too impractical to do. And like I said, if you stun the opponent, you deserve to win anyways. Now, besides the Dan Infinite, the things like the biggest strengths of Dan is his pressure, especially his corner pressure. It's really good. Dan could be plus for days on you. He can stay really close, and he can make you feel the pressure, make you want to stay blocking, make you scared to jump. If you don't respect his V skill 2, especially, he can really lock you down. And before you know it, Dan will always get his V trigger first before you, and then he can lock you down even more. Dan can definitely get away with getting 2 V triggers in a match if he just spams it, and he's really good with the V skill 2 especially. And it seems like V skill 2 is definitely the choice if you want to play Dan competitively. His uppercut is okay. Sometimes I see it whiffing going underneath the opponent. It's got a weird angle to it. Maybe I gotta try doing the light DP more and maybe going for a trade. His cross up seems quite weak. It doesn't seem to have a good hitbox. A lot of times it just outright whiffs, or I'll get hit by random normals with it in general. Maybe it's his jump arc. But yeah, overall his kit's pretty strong. Like I said, the Dan kicks are really cool. I wish the light Dan kick was a little bit better to deal with zoners in general, or if you had a better anti-zoning tool, but I think Capcom just really wants you to use V-Skill 1 in that situation. Now, when it comes to criticism for Dan, I have very few amount of criticism because he's such a well-designed character, but I feel like the playtesting at Capcom for Street Fighter V has been really weird. There is a lot, especially the new characters recently, they have these strange problems where if you hit somebody's normal, right, a detached hitbox or hurtbox, and you whip punish and you hit their normal, certain things won't connect, and it really bugs me because two characters that come to mind that really had this problem was Ed and Falk. They're really bad for it. They had to go through like 3 seasons of patches to get their combos to work consistently, and Dan has this exact same issue. Even sometimes if you land a standing medium punch at almost max range and it's crouching medium punch hits, the EX punches won't even follow up. That stuff really irks me. I feel like with the play testing, they should be able to find these problems right away because they've had this issue in the past, and Capcom always tries to patch these characters up. So that really bugs me about Dan. Another thing, I guess, with the V skill too, the timing of your buttons when you cancel is difficult enough as it is, but then the timing changes if the opponent gets crush countered, and that's pretty frustrating too, where you'll land a crush counter randomly and then you'll throw off your timing a little bit and then you'll get punished for it. But I mean, that's more of a skill thing. I can't really complain about that. Mostly like inconsistent calls with Dan, especially his crouching medium punch and his standing medium punch when it comes to converting to those EX Dan punches. Now, in terms of his V trigger, I think his two V triggers are pretty well designed. I mean, they could have went the lazy route and made like, V trigger 2 is kind of like, oh, he buffs his fireball and his uppercut. That by itself is boring. But the fact that they added the perfect inputs, I mean, they're not really perfect inputs where they're insanely like Tekken hard to input like Electric God, but no, I think that was a cool twist for it to keep the technical part for it. And having the exclusive 1 bar V trigger is really cool as well. I tried rocking V trigger 1 for a while now, but I'm using V trigger 2 because I need that stun, man. I need something that does 200 stun. So I think that's pretty good design too. I think there was a lot of characters with really boring V triggers out there, like Sagat, for example. And I think they did a good job with Dan's. It could have been worse. Now, in terms of tournament strength, are people going to pick up Dan in tournaments? I mean, I think the only reason a pro player will play Dan in a tournament is they want to show off. They want to show that they can win with Dan. I don't think Dan gives you any kind of advantage in a tournament setting, especially when you have to choose between Akuma or Ryu or even Kage when it comes to Shotos. I think players are still unfamiliar with Dan and how he works and how his pressure works. But I don't think Dan is a gimmick character though. I think even when players do understand Dan and how his matchup works, Dan can still beat you. It's just that you have to play very, very well with Dan. The thing is, like I said, I can shimmy you 3 times and you still won't be stunned. You'll still have a chance to come back. If I shimmy you 4 times, right, or I throw you 4 times, then you're dead and Dan will win. That's kind of like what it is. Dan is like playing with one hand tied behind your back. You have all the tools to win, but only you can carry the character and you are at a disadvantage. But I don't think Dan is low tier by any means because of the amount of tools he has and the way you can freestyle with him, especially when you're using V skill 2. I think Dan is pretty strong. If I was going to put him somewhere, I'd probably put him like upper mid right now. But of course, it's like the early weeks of the game. We still have to see when actual tournaments, start popping up and we see how players play this character. So that's pretty much my thoughts on Dan. I think he's like one of the most well-designed characters in the game, despite the weird lazy balance of making his damage and stun low. And I'm really looking forward to Rose now because Rose is not a character that's supposed to be just, showboat and supposed to be weak. She's going to be very strong, she seems. And with the design of her V skills, it looks like Capcom's not holding back. I think this season, in terms of character design, will be amongst the absolute best. So really, really looking forward, and I like the new direction for the game. Guys, let me know your thoughts below on Dan. Are you guys still rocking the Dan? I'll release a tips and tricks video soon on the things that I've learned personally, and I'll keep climbing the ranks to master, and I'll keep you guys in the loop. All right, everyone, leave a like, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everyone. Peace.